Cross. A weekly recap of your Philadelphia Flyers from blue line to blue line. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's, tonight's show is brought to you by Han & Stone Spa, Pat Dion Beverages, The Capitol Grill, Chickies and Pete's, Payroll Service Solutions, and Independence Blue Cross. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Now, here are your hosts, former Flyers goaltending great Bernie Parent and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, welcome everybody to On the Ice here at beautiful Chickies and Pete's in Malvern, presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Paul Jolovitz, not with Bernie Parent, he's in Florida, but with Mr. Brad Marsh, former Flyer defenseman. Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year. Do you want me to speak French?
Oui.
Oh, there we go. That's my extent as well.
I took 4 years of French. I got about 9
Western
words
Canadian
out of
boy, you must know a little French as well.
About as much as you. Yeah.
it. All right, we're gonna take issue with that right away because Brad just called Neil Little Litz. Neil Little is our guest tonight, former Flyer goalie, now a scout. Was a scout for the Flyers, now the Canadiens. How are you, buddy? Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you and to everybody.
Thanks. When you get your last name shortened by one letter with an S added, that's not a nickname. That's a hockey nickname. Litz, Simmer, blah, blah, blah. Do you consider that a real nickname?
I guess it should be a real nickname.
It's a real nickname.
I mean, that's
Why don't you
what
call
they
him
call
Rummy
me.
or something. What make up something that has nothing to do with a guy? That's a nickname.
Well, you're not
Bundy's
in
a
charge of your own
nickname.
nicknames for one.
No, you're
thing.
not. But Bundy, that's a nickname. Litz, to me, no.
Jolly?
Jolly, everybody makes it up for me. I don't think it's a nickname, but
Well, that's what Litz just said.
all right, fair
You're
enough.
not in control of your own nickname.
I
But
don't-
nicknames are a thing of the past now because you might be perceived the wrong way or offend
Could be.
somebody or whatever. So
Well, let's get something serious out of the way. Obviously, you don't want to talk about stuff like this ever, but we're watching the game here at the beautiful Chickies and Pete's in Malvern. Great atmosphere, about 9,000 TVs. We're watching the game that was supposed to be played last night in the Sugar Bowl. Why am I mentioning that here? Because the Flyers played tonight in Vegas. First thing in Vegas after that little incident at the Trump Hotel yesterday. Obviously, hockey is a pawn in this great big world of ours. Brad, obviously it bothers you, but there's going to be ridiculous security at the Flyer game tonight. Did you ever have any kind of worries when you played that the boogeyman was out to get you? I don't know what to say, but it's sick what's going on in this world right now.
yes, it is very unfortunate, sick, whatever adjective you want to use, what's going on in the world. We lived in a different time, and the security was not what it is today. Unfortunately, you need it today. I remember we were playing in Washington one time. This would have been obviously in the 80s, and Nancy Reagan was coming to the game. So
Oh, wow.
Ronald was the president, and just the extra security in and around her coming to the game, but nothing like you see today.
Now, Neil, you played back then a lot. As Brad said, it's just a different world. It has to bother you. Obviously, it bothers everybody, but Flyer game tonight, I hope nothing happens. When you hope nothing happens, that indicates, at least to me, that I'm even thinking about it, which shouldn't happen. How do you feel about this whole world? I don't know how else to ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly it takes you and makes you really think about what's important and staying safe in public spaces. But Marshy's right. We grew up in a different time, and we grew up in small towns, and there was a couple rinks that was tough to get in and out of because of unruly fans. And I remember playing
The
a game.
Spectrum was one of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well,
Yep. Old Clarkie's hometown up in
Flin Flon.
in Flin Flon. I got a hunting knife thrown at me. And went,
What?
Oh yeah, on the ice, went right in with yeah.
so he threw a knife at you? The guy get kicked out, I hope?
Oh,
Arrested?
nobody could find him. No.
Oh,
There's a goalie joke there, though.
there
The
is.
knife was thrown at him. And
It went right between my legs.
Yeah, right between your
Went in the
legs.
5-hole, yeah. Well, Flyers are on Game 4 of a West Coast road trip with Holiday on Ice at the Wells Fargo Center. Sixers on a road trip. One more personal note before we get going. I was at a funeral today of a Philadelphia legend, Bill Berge. Brad, Neil, you both had guys pass away, either retired or current. Sports has such a connection with this town. There were a lot of people, obviously, at the funeral today, some fans in Wilmington. just had a luncheon not too far from here. What kind of connection, Brad? You're still here, went back to Ottawa for a while after you retired, but you're back here. And what kind of a connection do you have and do athletes have with the fans in the town they played in if they play their cards the right way?
Well, the dressing room is a powerful thing. So once you put the sweater on and lace the skates up, in our case hockey, you're bonded or connected forever. And so you always keep tabs on your former teammates. And you're eager to hear the news, whether it's good news or bad news about your former teammates. So it always is sad. Fans, especially years ago, they really felt a part of the team that they were cheering for. They really felt that they made the difference. They really felt that they helped them win, et cetera, et cetera. So it really is a family when someone passes away.
Neil, I would get you Peter Zezel back when you played. Obviously, it happens to people. It's just part of the world, though, and it is what it is. You played a couple games for the Flyers, won 2 Calder Cups with the Phantoms, 98 and 2005. Talked to Mike Richards once about that, who hadn't won a Stanley Cup at that point. When you win a couple Calder Cups, it's not the same thing, obviously, but what's it like when the game's over and you win and you raise that cup and the world is your oyster?
Well, I'm not sure it matters at any level, but when the final buzzer goes and you're victorious, it's there's a lot of different emotions that go through. Actually, one being complete and utter exhaustion, relief, and then total and an amazing joy and energy, all at the same time. So it's your body is it's a unique feeling that I've only experienced it twice, but you can't replicate it. You're so happy and so tired, and it's just, and you're there with all your friends that you've worked so hard throughout the year, ups and downs, and just all kinds of unique little niche stories, and then to culminate with a championship. It's just the ultimate.
Brad, you never won, but you came very close.
Thanks for bringing that up.
I appreciate it. I didn't win either, by the way. I played my entire career, which wasn't much of a career, wasn't any of a career. But you almost won a couple times. Obviously, you got very close. You got to Game 7 of the finals. Can't get a lot closer than that. Did you ever win a championship when you were a kid? And obviously, how much more did that make you want the Stanley Cup, the big prize?
I think winning is winning. It doesn't really matter what league you're in. Whatever league you're in or whatever you're playing for, your goal is to win that trophy or win that championship. And so you just take it in stride. If you win, it's awesome. You enjoy it, as Litz said. And if you lose, it just leaves you wanting more. And myself, I never got to hoist the championship trophy. Won a lot of big games, won a lot of big tournaments, growing up and so on and so on. And coaching minor hockey, you win a lot of big tournaments and city championships and all that. Winning is the ultimate, and I get frustrated and annoyed in modern day youth sports where they seem to take the emphasis away from winning, and it's all about fun. Yes, it is about fun, but to me, the most fun is when you win. Well,
we're taking some strange roads here. First show of the new year. Let's go back to football for a second. A lot of controversy in this city. Saquon Barkley within 100 yards, the NFL record, depending on what you call the record, whatever asterisk, blah, blah, blah. Not playing on Sunday. I think it's a correct decision, Neil. I wouldn't play somebody. The game means absolutely nothing to the Eagles for any seeding. You play anybody, they're going to have to play some starters. They get hurt, A plus B equals C. How do you feel about fans that want guys to play for records, or anybody that wants people to play for records, as opposed to the team? There's a saying in the Flyer locker room, not a saying, it's on the wall. You play for the emblem on the front, not the name on the back. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think for one thing, he's already had a special season. He's over 2,000 yards. It's incredibly tough to do.
Yeah.
And those same fans, if he happened to get hurt in the last game of the season, would be saying, "Why did you play him?"
Yeah, of course they would.
You might have ruined our chances to win a championship. So, I mean, they might jump on the other side of the fence if that actually came to fruition.
Marcy, what's your feeling on this one?
It's tough, and obviously I don't know Barkley. I don't know. He said the right things and so on and so on, but you're within grasp of an all-time record.
But it's 2 more games played, so does that...
One more game played.
Oh,
well,
more.
O.J. Simpson, remember, he's one of 9 guys run for 2,000. Needs 100 more, but you'd have to play your line. Can't just play him. And if somebody gets hurt, you're thinking like Neil said, why the hell did I do that? I mean, obviously there's points on the other side as well. Hockey's a little bit different, I mean, but the injury risk is the same thing. Did you ever have games at the end of a year where so-and-so was held out of the lineup to wait for the playoffs? It doesn't seem to be the same type of thing in hockey.
That never happened.
No, it never happens. And I just get frustrated, and this is a special case, and so maybe it doesn't fit into the load management thing, and what they do in the NBA just drives me crazy.
Me too.
Drives me crazy, the NFL preseason. How do you get ready for the real season when you take 2 snaps?
They didn't. They were 2-2 after 4 games. September was their preseason.
But in the preseason, the starters don't play at all, and they play.
Rarely.
They might take a couple snaps. And to me, the team still charges full pop for the season tickets or game tickets. They should have a good team on the field.
And Jalen Hurts, whether he plays Sunday or not, because he could go basically 4 weeks without playing, but
that's a little different. He's injured.
He is injured, but let's get back to hockey, which is our goal. Flyers start 2025. Let's hope they win a cup this year. Probably ain't going to happen, but can't hurt to dream. 17-17-4, exactly at 500. Game 4 of a West Coast trip. Playing Vegas tonight, who's got the second most points in the league. Neil and I were looking at the lines before the game, and Neil, you commented it's almost like a shell game for Torts. You got the Cates line with Brink and Forster playing out of their mind. We'll talk about them later, but when you're a goaltender and you're facing different guys every time down the ice, coaches shifting, changing lines, and during the games, does that make it easier for you, harder, or it doesn't matter?
For myself personally, it did not matter what the line combinations were. It did matter what the defensive pairings were for me, because I get used to 2 guys playing together. I know what they're going to do. We have communication and just ways of kind of working together. Now, the defensive pairings do change from time to time, but for the most part, especially when I played, your partner was your partner unless something was going really south.
You play with Doug Crossman a lot. You were kind of a chameleon. I think you could have played with anybody. Mike Keenan played a lot of 4D, which is never done these days, unless there's a playoff game where half his team is injured. But how important is the continuity to you? Could you play with anybody? And did I just say something funny?
No, I coughed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't have a cough button.
I thought it said something stupid, which wouldn't be the first, second, or 2,000th time. Could you play with anybody, and what was that like?
Well, Neil's right. The defensive pairs usually stuck together more so than the forward lines. And yes, you have to get in a position where you can play with anybody and you can adjust or adapt to play with anyone. But in Philadelphia, when Cross was traded here from Chicago, we played a little bit that first year that he was traded here. But for whatever reason, we got paired together with Keenan, and it worked. And I think you hear that a lot of time. Why is this guy scoring now? Why is this guy playing, or this line better? So it just works. And Dougie and I, we grew up in London, Ontario. We never played together in minor hockey. I'm older than him, but maybe it was the London connection. I don't know, but it just worked. We're both of us as individuals star defensemen. Not necessarily. I think Doug was quite a bit more skilled than me, and I think he was very underrated as a defenseman in the league. But put us together, we were one of the better pairs, and it was great that Mike Keenan played 4D, especially when you're one of the 4. Stunk if you were 5 and 6. But anyhow, like I said, it worked for me and Cross, just as it worked for Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon. Because Beastie come over here. There's a nickname.
That's
for
a nickname. Very hard.
Beast, yeah.
You got it.
Brad came in from Boston, and he was a good defenseman, but he wasn't a star defenseman. They put him with Mark Howe, very good defenseman, but it worked. Brad made Howie better, and Howie made Brad a much better, a real bona fide defenseman.
All right, when we come back, guys, we're going to talk about a position where we're not sure it's worked this year. It's been good at times, bad at others. Questionable at others. Now Sam Erson's hurt again for the 85th time this year with a lower body injury. Kolosov's going to have to play, maybe Fedotov. Goaltending's been a little shaky. Neil's a scout with the Canadians. We'll talk to him about goaltending. It's tough. Got to have a guy. Flyers don't really have a guy, but they're going to have to find one. Sam Erson's going to, I guess, have to stay healthy. It's not his fault. We'll come back. This is the Independence Blue Cross on the ice, live from Chickies and Pete's, right here in Malvern on 1490 WBCB, 107.3 FM, and seen live on YouTube at WBCB Sports. Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
The last thing I remember, I was outside Chickie and Pete's.
Of course, George. Chickie and Pete's is Philadelphia's most decorated and award-winning restaurant.
I give each of the kids a Chickie and Pete's gift card. It's the gift that always fits.
It's almost as good as getting your wing.
Yeah, that's right, Clarence. You can get your wings at Chickie's, and crab fries and lobster pizza and a hot beef sandwich.
You see, George, it really is a wonderful place, this Chickie and Pete's.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
I'm the threat that's already inside the house. I can't be scared away or negotiated with. You can't call the cops on me. You can't even see me. I'm the threat of family fire, and as long as your guns aren't stored securely, I'll be there. Protect your family. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's, presented by Independence Blue Cross for On the Ice. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz, Brad Marsh, and Neil Little.
Thank you very much, Stephen Lawler. Stephen Lawler doing the producing, spinning the knobs, turning the dials back at the station. Happy New Year to him. He always does a great job with Brad Marsh and Neil Little here. Guys, before we get to the goalies, I mean, just being honest, I love it, but you can walk down the street and say, hey, the U.S. beat Canada 4-1 in the World Juniors, and 99 out of 100 people look at you and go, World Junior what? How big a deal is it in Canada? I mean, the U.S. is very good this year. We're actually the favorite. It's in Canada. How big a deal is it being in Canada, Brad, and the Canadian team as a whole?
Well, the TV coverage is like Super Bowl numbers.
Really?
Yeah, and well, if you take the percentage of people that live in Canada, the percentage of TVs that are turned on,
Yeah.
It is 24/7 talk, analyze every game. They talk about the team months before the tournament actually takes place. And, you know, it moves around to the various places in the world, and the only place that it is successful, very successful, is in Canada. And I played in the World Juniors way back in 77 and 78. It was not the spectacle that it is now. It's an unbelievable tournament. And it does very, very well.
Neil, do you agree with me about walking down the street here in the States, and do you agree with Brad's assessment of Canada?
Certainly do agree with Brad about the Canadian aspect. Everybody's watching, and they really keep track of these young kids. It's the best young kids in the world, and they're playing in the biggest tournament of their lives, really. And it's fabulous hockey. These kids are dynamite, and it just keeps getting better and better. I believe Minnesota's going to take a crack at it next year.
It is in Minnesota next year.
So that'll be that'll get some buzz.
Well, let's say Slovakia is playing Finland in some early round game, not Canada, but a World Juniors game. And on Hockey Night in Canada, you got Vegas and Toronto, a big NHL game. What game's going to outdraw the other on TV there?
Well, Vegas-Toronto will still outdraw a Slovakia-Finland game. But if it happened to be New Year's Eve when the U.S. and Canada were playing, I don't think any NHL game would unseat them in viewership. It's that big a tournament, and it means a heck of a lot to the Canadian hockey fans up in Canada. And when win, lose, or draw, Team Canada's not playing very well, but you imagine a Monday morning after the Eagles win or lose, they dissect the game, they dissect every snap, et cetera, et cetera. They'll be doing the same in Canada after the tournament.
All right, we're up to the quarterfinals, so obviously 3 rounds left. U.S., good luck. Canada, good luck. Hopefully they meet in the finals. Be a lot of fun. Neil, we're talking about the goalies now. You were a goalie. You're a scout. Flyers have Sam Ersson, who may or may not be a big-time number one. He keeps getting hurt, but he's pretty good when he's in the net. What do you think of Sam Ersson from a Canadian's perspective? Whatever you can say. Not asking you to say anything you're not supposed to. And what do you look for in a goalie? You got a mental side, a physical side, a bounce-back side. What are you looking for?
Well, first and foremost, I really like Sam. He's a quality goaltender that kind of flies under the radar. For one, he hasn't been around all that long, so people don't really know him, across the hockey world. But his competes off the charts, and as far as what I look for if I'm scouting for anyone, scouting a goalie, there's a lot of different factors, but one is compete, one is consistency. Another just finding a way to win. There's all different, nuances to styles and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you give your team the best chance of winning, and you. Another thing is you don't want to see them let in a bad goal at a bad time. Just really focusing in on consistency, and then you get to the technical issues and little things like that. But there's a long list that we look for.
So when you're scouting goalies and you come to the meeting, is there a check mark there? I mean, you have goals against, and you have save percentage, and you have total shots, and there's all these like standard. You brought it up. Is there, like, you look at the good goalies, and yeah, they might have let a weak one in. But in the third period, when it's 2-1, they make the big save.
Yeah.
Is there a category, or do you get to know a goalie from watching him that, yes, he's good, but, and it's a capital B, capital U, capital T. Stay away from him because he always lets in the goal at the wrong time.
Certainly, that's something that would stand out and be critical, and if you're going to be drafting this kid. And that all comes down to the mental game. So once you have seen a kid play for numerous times, you have an idea how he's playing, what he can do, what his ceiling is. But you also look for little things like that, like when is he letting in these goals? Now, is he coughing one up in a tie game with 8 minutes to go? Something that he should have had, or is he just battling his butt off and finding a way to get a victory? So, but there's all kinds of things we look for, but certainly the mental part of it is a huge aspect.
Another one, back to the mental, is when everyone's going to make a mistake and everyone's going to let in a bad goal. I like to see how a player responds after a bad shift, or in a goalie's case, after a bad goal. Some can't, like Grant Fuhr, Hockey Hall of Fame, his goals against average is terrible because he played for the Oilers, but man alive, he'd let in a bad goal, but he was always there to win that 8-7 game.
Wouldn't affect him in the slightest.
No,
I grew up in Alberta watching Grant Fuhr and Addy Moog were my two guys, and it was amazing. He used to let in some of the worst goals you would ever see, and it wouldn't faze him one bit.
Well, what he had on his team, he could take some chances with basically the Hockey Hall of Fame in front of him, right?
Oh, I don't know, but he was amazing. He was an amazing performer. He was so fun to watch. Yeah.
Well, what the Flyers did the other night, Brad mentioned find a way to win. They certainly did. The fourth time in Flyer history, a combined shutout. Sam Ersson got hurt after 2. Alexei Kolosov came in. Backup goaltender's been a bugaboo for the Flyers, Brad, this year. They've had good times. They've had bad. Kolosov hadn't played in like a month now. Ersson maybe out a while, maybe not. How do you feel about the backup goaltending for the Flyers? And do Danny and Keith have to look for someone while their guys in the minors are waiting if they need a guy to help with a playoff run?
I don't know. I think if you're a fan, you're nervous. Not a lot of confidence in the 3 goaltenders right now because one is good, but he's injured. A lot of question marks on the other 2. If you're a fan, you're nervous. If you are a hockey person, you understand what they're going through. And we'll see how the next month or so goes with this bundle of games coming up. If somehow we can stay close and we're in a playoff position, then they might be making a move. If we fall off a little bit, I think we're going to have the 3 goalie rotation for the rest of the year. And whatever happens is going to happen, and it may be a pretty good draft pick for next year.
Well, we've already seen moves in the NHL. Trouba got dealt. A couple other people have been dealt. Is your gut Flyers hanging at 500 right on the playoff cusp? Obviously, the next 2 months have a lot to do with it, but basically a buy or sell strategy, Neil. What do you think? Right now,
I never discount this team. One thing about this Flyer team, they are relentless, and I never count them out of a game. Because you can bet money at the end of the third, or there's going to be a huge push, and if you're in your car, like I have been sometimes on my way home, and they come back and they score 3 in the last 5 minutes and end up winning, it's amazing. And I think that's been the same for 2 or 3 years now. So it's that core group that never says die. And if I'm a Flyers fan right now, I really like a lot about this hockey team. Number one, their compete and their unwillingness to kind of roll over. So I would think that they're going to make a push for these playoffs again this year, and that's as long as they can keep the puck out of their net, it's going to be a big challenge here over the next couple weeks. But I think they're going to be relevant right down to the wire.
Brad, it's interesting thing Neil said about compete last 2 or 3 years. Obviously, John Tortorella's been the coach the last 2 or 3 years. The players are who they are. Is this a coincidence that the Flyers never seem to give up, that they do score that tying goal, winning goal? Does the coach instill that in you? Is that in you to begin with, or is it a total coincidence?
I think it's a combination because you can't teach compete. You either have it or you don't have it. So I think a lot of credit has to go to the scouts for picking the right players that have that. I mean, anybody can go to a game and say, oh, geez, that guy can shoot. Oh, that guy's a great skater, et cetera, et cetera. But there's the tangibles that set players the players apart with those little things. And so the compete thing, I think, is very important. And that's why I always like to see, in the later, I understand, we're going to take the best player available, but in the later rounds, take a kid from North America that has competed his whole minor hockey life. He's ridden the buses, he's done this, as opposed to taking a flyer on a European player.
Flyer. They're all going to be Flyers. Neil, you look at these kids. I mean, a lot of people say about Michkov, they're not now because he obviously has a high compete level, but when you see a Swedish kid, part of the knock on European players is that they're unbelievably skilled, but the compete level isn't that high, that they go away in the third period. Have you ever seen a player where you get them whatever you scored great on the 9 or 10 for raw talent, like a 3 or 4 for compete? And how much does that inhibit your total value of a player?
Well, yes, when I used to do amateur scouting, I was all over the globe, and that's another thing that you really hone in on is, are they competing for a full 60 minutes? Are they doing it consistently? But I've seen all kinds of skill with no drive all across North America, not just Europe. So you gotta put your time in. You gotta watch these kids, and they stand out. The kids that really, grind it out and work and work and work, they stand out. And
like a Lawton.
And you can't miss. Scott Lawton is a perfect example. One of my favorite players, yeah.
Back in the day, I think that was, you could say what you said, Jolly, about the early Europeans that were coming over. Yeah, they were very skilled, but for some reason, they didn't compete in the hard areas. They didn't compete for 60 minutes. But now, I think worldwide hockey is understood that you have to be able to compete or you're not going to make it, period.
Well, Flyers will see if they're going to make it, period. The last 40 games of the season, they basically played the first 40 at 500. Going to have to go a little bit above that. We're going to talk about that. The Vegas game tonight, Flyers in Las Vegas. Games 4 and 5 of the road trip. Then they come back here. You're listening to On the Ice from Chickies and Pete's in Malvern with Brad Marsh and Neil Little. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's with a holiday reminder about the gift that always fits and always gets returned. Our Chickie and Pete's gift cards. Buy online and we'll ship them right to your home or office. Need them right now? Go to chickieandpete's.com and we'll send them right to your email. Or you can always come see us at always fits, yet always gets returned. Chickie and Pete's gift cards. Happy holidays from Chickies and Pete's.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. And here's the pitch. BCWSA water and sewer customers, you have a new and improved option to pay your bill that's convenient, reliable, and secure. Powered by Invoice Cloud, you can pay your bill 24/7 online, pay by text or phone, or sign up for AutoPay to avoid fees for late or missed payments. Visit bcwsa.net to sign up or for more info. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz, Brad Marsh, and Keith Little.
And thank you very much, Steve Lawler. It's time now for the Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Player of the Week. This week it's Noah Cates, who recently scored goals in 5 straight games, is playing well in all situations on the power play now. Remember to choose Independence Blue Cross today and begin to live fearless, which, guys, Noah Cates does. Had a great rookie year, was our guest last year, slacked off last year for whatever reason. Didn't have the confidence of the coach, John Tortorella. Not slacked off, but didn't have the numbers. Brady's playing great this year with Brink and Lawton and Forster on the second line, being trusted in all situations. What happened with Noah Cates?
Well, I mean, he did get injured, so that kind of took some steam out of him. But he's a great two-way player. He's a terrific Philadelphia Flyer. He's good. He's good in the face-off dots. He's a great PKer. He works both sides of the puck. He's relentless, and he's got a little craft. He's a well-rounded player that plays in the hard areas. He's a very good player.
Just like we were talking about in the previous segment.
Yep.
Noah Cates, I mean, he's on the second line now, and his line has gone nuts. 25 points in 15 games with Brink and Forster. Forster's a guy that I mean, To me, Brink's a good player, but Forster's the most talented guy in that line. They got to get him going in some way. He's been good, but not great. Do you see him as a guy that could be a big key to the second half if whatever the key is, he finds it, Brad?
Well, they're clicking right now, and as we were talking about earlier, sometimes it just happens, and we've been waiting for a long time for him to kind of burst out of the bubble and kind of dominate and be a consistent scorer, and so maybe now's the time. Like, everything seems to be clicking right now, so maybe you can keep clicking, and we're reading his name on the score sheet more often.
One guy that's not going to be clicking on the score sheet ever because he didn't want to play here. We're not going to get into that again, that's for sure. But circled the game the other night. Cutter Gauthier is not really having a great year in Anaheim. Drysdale here is up and down, but up lately. Do you even think about Gauthier anymore? If he came out and said, here's why I didn't want to play, would you care? Or has that been there, done that?
I think Torch summed it up. I don't give a you-know-what about what he says. And I think most Flyer fans feel the same way.
And he said, I don't want anything bad to happen to the kid. He's just not one of us right now.
Yeah, like, I could care less about him. I don't know. And he was non-existent. You didn't even hear his name in the game. No. He was non-existent out here, and so I could care less. And I think how they handled that whole thing, a lot of hockey people, he should have held on and maybe got more, maybe changed his mind and all that. But the way they handled it, I don't want to play here, you're gone. I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah, but you got to be careful. I mean, I think they did the right thing, but the one thing you don't want to do is trade him for nothing. You want to make sure you treat him as an asset. I thought Danny and Keith played it well, kept it quiet. That's a hard line to play, isn't it, Neil, when the whole world doesn't know, but the hockey world does know, and you're trying to get value? Kind of a little shell game for a GM, huh?
They were put in a very, very difficult position, and I think they did the best as they could. And you cannot control if somebody does not want to come play for your team, and if he doesn't, you don't want him anyway. So I think Jonesy and Danny did the Flyers. I think they did their best, and I hope it all turns out in the end that we have the better player.
Similar to years ago when we traded Giroux to Florida. Where do you want to go? Only Florida. And I thought we got Chuck got a great value for him. Tippett and a draft pick.
Yep.
Who was the draft pick again? I forget who it was, but it was a high pick.
I don't remember either, but Tippett is a guy, you talk about Forster, he's already starting. I mean, I don't know if Tippett has the best shot in the NHL. That's a pretty strong statement, but he's got a great shot and great skater. What do you expect out of him in the next couple of years, Brad?
Well, I'm not worried about the next couple of years. I want to see what he can do in the next 40 games. Can he, just as we talked about Forster, can he get hot? Can he take this team on his shoulders to the next level, score some big goals, some game-winning goals, and so on and so on? We're rebuilding, and so a rebuild is, yes, we're going to put a lot of pieces in the puzzle, and hopefully they turn out, but if you're a player as part of the rebuild, especially a young one, you're battling for ice time. You're battling that you want to be here. You're battling for that next contract and so on and so on. And so, if Tippett wants to be here in the next several years, he's got to show us stuff now.
One guy that's showing something now is obviously a guy, Neil, 2 years ago, Connor Bedard was the first pick. This guy, in a lot of people's opinions, would have been the second pick. The whole Russian thing hadn't happened. We threatened to stay in Russia. Matvei Michkov was playing pretty well this year. John Tortorella, not a big fan of his two-way play, but it's improved a lot lately. He benched him. I think he got the word across. Kid can pretty much do anything. When you were looking at that draft as a fan, not as a scout for the Canadiens, would you have taken a shot with Michkov? Did the Flyers get huge value for a 7 pick? Seems like they did.
Yeah, they got the steal of the draft. At that time, there was a lot of stories going on around his name, and just lots of things coming out of Russia that nobody really, the general public, were not aware of. So it's a lot of it's hearsay, unless you have some Russian feet on the ground and knowing the real true story. But there's no question the kid's a dynamic talent, and at that point in the draft, it's the biggest steal in the draft. Now, he's just a kid. He's still learning. It takes a long time to play both ends of the rink effectively. He's got the North game down. He's very creative, and you can see it every night. I mean, the skill is jumping off the page there.
So somebody says to you, the kids are both pretty much the same size. Michkov's probably a little bigger body type. Both you guys, whoever wants to go first. Somebody says the rest of your career, you have him right now. Screw the money, just a talent. You want Michkov or Bedard?
Well, that's a tough question. I think Bedard is going to be a generational talent, and Michkov could be a generational talent. So if you push me in a corner, I'd probably take Connor, but I wouldn't be disappointed if I got Michkov.
Who do you want, Brad?
Well, I'll agree with Blitz, and not to take the easy way out. It's too young of a. We haven't seen them play. We've seen them play in junior, et cetera, et cetera. And I tell you, Connor, he's not lighting it up this year at all. And his face-off percentage went like 28%. So that tells me that he's not competing at all. He's got lots of skills, but he has a lot to learn. And people often forget that Mario Lemieux was one of the best players in the league, but he didn't become great until he experienced Team Canada and the Canada Cup in the 80s, I believe. 87, whatever.
Hamilton, yeah.
And, he played with Gretzky and Messier, sat in the dressing room, and that's when he became great. And so, back to surrounding these players with good players in the dressing room and so on and so on. The rebuild is so important for your star players. I feel bad for Bedard in Chicago. He's got nobody there.
Yeah,
that's a bad team in Chicago.
You also have to take into account he's very slight. He reminds me a lot of Jack Hughes when he was coming out of the gates. Everybody's like, "Well, I thought Hughes was supposed to be a dynamic player." Well, he's
becoming that now.
He's 165 pounds, and he's in the NHL at a young age. It's going to take him three years, and that's what happened. And now Hughes is taking off and looking like a world beater, and that's what's going to happen with Connor.
All right, so guys, when the fans of any team anywhere, Bedard got a huge pub, Michkov not quite so much, coming from another country. Do we expect too much from these kids? Do we expect instant coffee, where if the guy didn't score 81 points his first 9 games, he's a failure? And Brad, you were a first-round pick. How hard is that to deal with if you do get overrated expectations, you don't do it right away, and you're not tough psychologically? How much can that play with a kid?
Well, there's a lot of pressure on Bedard because when they won the lottery, didn't they sell like $9 million worth of tickets overnight, the first day? And so that is pressure. With me, I was drafted by Atlanta Flames. No one cared. No one really knew what the heck was going on. And hey, I was never a goal scorer, as you know, and so there was never any pressure on me to produce offensively. But so I can't walk in their shoes, what it's like to be the goal scorer, what it's like to be counted on, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a lot of pressure on goal scorers to produce. Like you go to Europe as a goaltender. I'm sorry, I'm looking at you, Neil. You go to Europe, and you're one of the players that's supposed to score goals. If you don't score, your contract's ripped up, and you're sent shopping.
All right, so shopping, Neil, is what you do with pro scouting. People understand what an amateur scout, you look at kids, see what they are, give draft recommendations, and the rest is history. Tell everybody exactly what you do as a pro scout.
Well, there's a lot of areas to this. But first and foremost, you are looking at free agents. You are looking for potential trades that might fill some gaps that your team needs. You're looking at players that maybe have been undervalued. You're also looking at potential. So there's a lot of areas there, and all the while you have to manage the cap. So everybody loves player A, but player A also makes $8.5 million. So you have to tame your expectations and plug holes in where they fit and where they're cost beneficial. But at the end of the day, you're analyzing all the pro players in the NHL and American League. And same thing, you're ranking them. Who do you like, who do you don't?
Well, I've said for quite some time now, to me, the most valuable person in the whole hockey team is the pro scout, because once again, anybody can go to a junior game and see the star player and see what that star player does. But you're not going to watch a pro game and see what their star players are doing, because really they don't fit into what you're looking for. One, they make too much money, as you just said. But Tippett, what I brought up the last time, it's a perfect example. The pro scouts, when they said, okay, we got to send Giroux to Florida, he called the pro scouts, chucked in and says, okay, who do you see there? And Tippett was a perfect. He didn't fit into that team for whatever reason. So pro scouts are valuable out there, because the player might not click here, but he's going to click here.
All right, when we come back, we'll find out. Neil works for the Canadiens, and I'm not a CIA agent, but we're going to find out who Neil might think would work with the Flyers. I know I'll read in the paper tomorrow morning that player's been traded to the Canadiens for not much, but we'll try to play some international intrigue with Neil and Brad when we come back on the ice from Chickies and Pete's in Malvern. We'll be back with our final segment on this New Year's January 2nd right after this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Join us for a casual, stress-free New Year's Eve. Early or late, you decide. Celebrate with football, food, and fun. Enjoy buy one, get one mouth-watering snow crabs from open to close. Happy hour starts at 4 with $3 domestics, $5 Tito's, $6 seltzers, plus half-price wings, pizza, and shrimp. Then late-night happy hour with $5 champagne toasts. Casual, stress-free, and easy. Chickies and Pete's for New Year's Eve.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, to get all your essentials in one place, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Hair Cuttery, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, R&J Smoothies and Juices, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one stop for all your shopping needs at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard in Fairless Hills.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz, Brad Marsh, and Neil Little.
All righty, thank you very much, Steve Lawler. Final segment. It's time now for the Smart Stat of the Week, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That's 1-866-PAY-EASY. Thank you, Danny. Another year. Happy New Year to you, and we appreciate your sponsorship. John Tortorella is a tinkerer. He seems to have come up with something in his lineup. Tyson Forster, Noah Cates, and Bobby Branker, who scored 25 points in the 15 games since they joined forces. We'll see if Torts stays with them, and we hope he does. That was your Fire Smart Stat of the Week. Once again, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions, catering to the small and medium-sized business to handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY. All right, we're going to play International Intrigue with Neil Little. You watch teams. Every team needs something. There's no perfect teams. Every team can get help. You got salary cap. You got talent. You got age. You got injury. And 4 million other things. Who's a player in the NHL that if you were a Flyers scout, you would say to Danny Briere, you may be interested in this guy, undervalued or whatever? Who is it?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Is that an inappropriate question to a Canadian scout?
Okay, so if I look at the Flyers roster, in my opinion, I think they need
scoring, right?
I think they need a dominant, shutdown, kind of two-way D-man. That's where I would go.
Like Brad Marsh?
Like a young Brad Marsh. Problem is, nobody's giving these kids away. So, I mean, there's so many players that could fill holes. To pick one that's available is another whole different ballgame.
Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Oh, we could have had him.
Could have had him.
You can like all the superstars, but the superstars aren't going anywhere. So, I like the Flyers roster. They're young and they're up and coming, but I'm not sure if I could give you a name.
Well, it doesn't have to be a name, Brad. You're with this team. You're head of the Flyers alumni. They obviously need a center, as Neil said, a two-way D-man. What are you looking for? If you're buying at the deadline, what kind of thing are you looking for?
Murray Craven.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah,
he's 60 years old now?
Yeah, but a player like him, like when Pete Zezel came in as a young kid, like he became a dominant centerman. I'm not saying that we need a young kid to come in. We need a little experience at the center, but I was just thinking of some of the players that I played with, and Murray kind of popped in. Like very good, skilled player, played both ends of the rink, et cetera, et cetera. And it comes back to what we talked about in the previous segment, the pro scouts. Like, I'm sure they've been told or asked by Danny, go find me some players out there, but the contract, as Litz has said, is the biggest thing, is the biggest stumbling block into rebuilding your team. That's why you got to rebuild through the draft, and you get lucky a couple other times.
All right, one of the co-hosts of this show used to be Keith Primo. Everybody knows who he is. Son plays for Neil's team. Caden Primo plays for the Canadiens. Been up and down, kind of what they call a 4A player, somebody who's probably too good for AAA in baseball. Not good enough to play in the major leagues. Maybe they got a hole in their swing or whatever. Caden Primo has been in the NHL. He's been in the minors, Neil. He's not coming to the Flyers. Flyers aren't trading for a goalie, I don't think, at that level. But what does Caden Primo mean in Neil Little's mind right now?
Caden's, well, first thing that comes to mind, he's a young pro. And
as you were, right?
Yeah, and he's going through peaks and he's going through valleys. And right now, he hasn't had the best start to this season, so we've got him in the minors, and he's going to get some minutes, and he's going to get his confidence back, and then head for another peak and try to keep it there and play consistent. But he's a great kid. He's a hard worker, and he's got the skill to stick. But it's a matter of just finding that consistent play night in, night out.
All right, Brad, we look in teams that may not be as good as we think they were. Rangers started off like a gang of fire, played horrible lately, traded their captain. Chris Drury, their GM, is kind of on a short leash himself. Shesterkin's now hurt. How much do you want to take advantage of a team? Obviously, full advantage, but do you look to them and maybe try to pluck one of their guys cheap while Drury's upset and maybe just giving people away?
Well, I don't know. I think if the deal's there, once upon a time you would never see a trade between the Rangers and the Flyers. But I think if the deal's there, the deal's going to be there. But I kind of love it, seeing the Rangers stink the way they are. And they can just keep going right to the bottom of the standings as far as I'm concerned. And there's an organization that's just turmoil. I've never heard one good thing said about the owner. Who's the owner there?
About Drury or the team itself?
No, the owner of the Rangers.
Oh, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Dolan?
Well, there you go, Dolan. Yeah, and so it just permeates all the way down through the organization. And I don't know what they were thinking when they got rid of Gerard Gallant. I mean, they had an unbelievable year, and they stubbed their toe in the playoff a little bit, and a couple of players complained and whined, and they got rid of a pretty darn good coach there. So I love beating the Rangers, and I love seeing the Rangers lose.
All right, New Year's Day is the time when things change. People see things differently than they did on December 31st. Brad, I'll ask you first. You've been with the Flyers for a long time. Other than winning a Stanley Cup, which is the duh answer, what would be an ideal 2025 in total for the Flyers with new players, new results, new culture, new build? What's a great year for the Flyers in your mind right now?
What would
make you
real
happy?
What would be real happy?
Yep.
Well, one, if we made the playoffs. Two, if we won that first playoff round. I think, we're talking about rebuilds and all that stuff. That nothing builds character and nothing builds enthusiasm in the whole organization, whether it's your fan base or the players or whatever, is winning. And if we can get in the playoffs and if we could win a first round, that would be phenomenal. But I think we're a ways away from that being a guarantee. We're going to work right to the end, as Litz said, and we're going to compete right to the end. And once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen nowadays.
As the Bruins showed 2 years ago when they won the dreaded President's Trophy and then took the nasty plunge in the first round. Neil, your ideal year for you personally, for the Canadiens, in the life of Neil Little, other than winning the lottery, what's a great year in 2025?
Oh, I think, hockey-wise, I'd love for either team to really make a push and make the playoffs. Montreal would be fabulous. That town deserves it. They've, we've been in the, on the bottom looking up for a while now. So, and as far as the Flyers making the playoffs, that would just be fantastic. This city comes alive come playoff time, and I'd love to see these kids give it a run. As far as me personally, I just health and happiness for my family and friends, and I'll just keep plugging.
Which we wish for everybody, of course. You guys are examples of two athletes who played their career here. Brad, you came back. Neil, you were not from here. You live here, even though you work for another team now. What is it about Philadelphia that says, come back, I want to be a part of a great city like this after my days, Brad?
Your wife?
Your wife?
No, I'm
happy wife, happy life, right?
No, I'm only kidding. My last team I played for was the Ottawa Senators, and I worked for the Senators for 20-plus years while I was there. But when we came back to Philly in the summertime, I always stayed close. I always went over to Flyer Land, as I refer to the practice facility there. And, Clarkie was always there. Homer was always there. And you get talking and yakking. And, one time during those summertime talks, one thing led to another. And I ended up making the decision to move back here and join the Flyers in the front office. And it was a wonderful decision. And we thoroughly enjoy being back here in Philadelphia.
That's terrific. And tonight the Flyers start their 2025 game against one of the top teams in the leagues, the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's hope everybody's safe, obviously. And what do the Flyers have to do to get a win tonight, Neil?
That's a tough task. That is a very difficult building to win in. But they've been playing well. I like the way they're playing, so they're going to have to win a low-scoring game, and they're going to have to compete extremely hard in and around their net and in the hard areas.
Well, it's 5-4 the first time. Vegas beat Philadelphia 5-4 here. Brad, obviously any hockey game be lower or higher scoring. Just got about a minute left. What do the Flyers have to do to get off on the right skate this year?
Well, I look at this team, and quite often when we're up against a team that is on paper way better than us, we answer the call, we answer the bell, that old corny saying. And so I expect a great effort from our team, and if we can get a save and we get a lucky bounce at the other end, I'm looking forward to seeing a good game.
Well, should be a good game later tonight. Flyers in Vegas, fourth of a 5-game trip. Come back here, and we'll see what 2025 has to bring. Neil, best of luck to you, family-wise, personally, hockey-wise. Been a great guy for a while, always a friend of the show. Thank you so much, and all good things this year.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. And Brad, let's do it again. All good things, same to you, and let's rock and roll with the Flyers in the rebuild and hit that Stanley Cup playoffs this year.
Exactly.
There we are. Chris Summer, appreciate you producing. Steve Lawler, you've done a great job as well. The people that come out, watch, listen. Thank you to everybody who supports On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. We thank Chickies and Pete's, where we'll be again this year. That's our show for tonight. I'm Paul Jolovitz for Brad Marsh and Neil Little, saying Happy New Year from Chickies and Pete's in Malvern, and go Flyers!
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 WT.